going on, guys? It's Eric of Dual Through Outdoors. Just doing the top 5 video here. I want to take this time where right now, fishing-wise, we're in the pre-spawn. A little behind. Normally, we're in full spawn. We have 60-degree water everywhere, but we've had a really cold spring. So I just want to hit this video real quick here. Give you my top 5 best lures for bass, both large and smallmouth, for the pre-spawn period, where on lakes, fish are staging. They're slowly moving up shallow. They're not quite there yet. You can catch them in transition, or you can catch the early ones there. And then river, it all depends on the water level. If it's low, which it's not this year, you can still catch some offshore little ways, but if it's not low and it's high, they'll still be tucked up on the bank like they would be for spawn, just because they want to get out the current. So I gave you this top 5 here. Top 5 pre-spawn baits, number 5. Now summer, this bait's a lot higher, but for now, football jig. This is the type of one of the baits you can catch fish on all times of the year. This happens to be, I think, a Strike King finesse football, green pumpkin orange. But yeah, just with a crawl trailer or any type of twin-tailed grub or whatever your preferred jig trailer is, great option. Just hopping it slow off the bottom, imitating crayfish. You can even get more of a shad pattern and more of a swim jig with the swim bait on the back too. But if you gave me the choice, I'd probably choose the crawl pattern just because it's a little more consistent, even on the lakes, other than a few. But yeah, so number 5, pre-spawn baits, finesse football jig. Number 4, again, another bait that works decent all year, and a bait that was higher, but has kind of fallen off a little bit the last few years compared to some of these ones ahead of it, especially if it's time of the year, but still catches fish, is a tube. 1/8 ounce tube. This happens to be River Rock in Dark Special, one of my favorite colors. Great color for dirty or clear water. Again, has that crayfish look, a little bit less action than the jig, which can be good when the fish are a little slower, where you can just kind of drag this on the bottom. Obviously, this doesn't float, so this is just kind of a less action bait, but you can always give it more action if you're getting into a good bite. But still a great bait overall. Bait I've caught fish on springtime during tournaments, fishing for fun. Again, it's a bait that works in pretty much any water temp, but if I was having 5 on the boat, this would be number 4. Tube, River Rock custom baits, my preference there, 1/8 ounce tube jig. Number 3, I don't usually use this model in the spring, usually use this model in the summer, but just convenient because starting in a box. But number 3 is a jerk bait. And my choice is, as you've seen from my number 1 jerkbait videos, if you haven't watched that, go back, check it out. Megabass Vision 110. This is the silent version, so this is more of a clear water version, which you can have sometimes in the spring. Normally there's a little color. But jerkbait, usually just regular Vision 110. You're making that minnow or shad imitation, and basically when the water's lower 40s, you're doing anywhere from 5 to 10 second pause. Generally about 5 to 8. Between jerks, but when you're getting up into that mid-50s, you might only do a 3 or 4 second pause. All depends on how active the fish are. So again, a great way to imitate like an injured, dying bait fish, shad. Both rivers, and I've had more success on this in the river, but it definitely does work on lakes. If you saw our Hammond video, Derek caught some on that. Caught one, had some other bites on that. Team member Derek. So number 3 on my list, if I can only have 5 baits spring, is the jerk bait. Personal preference. Megabass Vision 110. Number 2, this is a bait I'm going to get into a lot more in future videos because this is going to be on our finesse videos, bottom baits, whatever, is the Ned Rig. Good old 2.5 inch finesse TRD. Whatever your jig head preference is, I personally am not a huge fan of the original heads that Z-Man came out with. I either like the Loxy or the new Pro Shrooms because it has a little bit of a stouter hook that doesn't come out so easy. But this happens to be Canada Crawl, team member Kevin's favorite color. But color, I'm not saying what color throw in the spring. That all depends on watercolor. But when the fish aren't biting, when it's slow, this is like a hard bait to beat. I'm not going to catch the size you're going to catch with some of these other baits, like 3 and the bait that's going to be number 1. But for numbers and just getting bites when nothing else is working, it is hard to beat the Ned Rig, number 2. Number 1, and this is a bait you've seen featured on my Hammond video from 2 weeks ago with team member Derek, the DT4. Just caught fish on it yesterday at Blanchard. Didn't do a video, but did catch fish on it yesterday in a different color. This happens to be Holinsky shad. The color I was using at Hammond, there's a lot of shad in that lake, so it's a great pattern there. But again, color all depends on where you're fishing and what the watercolor is, what forage you're trying to match. It's in the argument, I haven't made this list, but it's in the argument for best crankbait ever. But it is an absolutely great crankbait. With that round bill, it has a little tighter wobble than the square bills. So when you're down to like low 40s like I was at Hammond, or I was at mid 50s yesterday at Blanchard, this bad boy is going to work. You just have to vary your speed a little bit. And I've caught fish up to in the 50 to 60 or the 60 to 70 degree water range as well. But if we're strictly talking, you know, pre-spawn, staging fish that are moving up, this is not only my crankbait, but this is my #1 bait selection, and whatever color the forage is. Just a great tried and true bait. It is also #1 on my round bill crankbait list. If you haven't watched that, check that out. And also another thing too is if you're at a new fishery, awesome for covering water, just cranking all around rather than having to work off the bottom, just for locating fish. And again, it is #1 on my list for catching fish for the pre-spawn. This is Team Member Eric coming to you with my top 5 pre-spawn baits, and hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, leave a comment, and I'll try to answer them best I can. So, thank you for watching this Dual Threat Outdoors video. If you like this video, give it a like, share with your friends, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more Dual Threat Outdoors content.